Imagine being handed unlimited millions of dollars. You get a marquee brand and this star employee who is, well, effectively industry royalty.
Right, like the ultimate dream scenario.
Yeah, but here is the catch. You are told you have exactly 4 months to buy a national championship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No rebuilding years, no grace period to establish a company culture. You have to win it all right now.
I mean, that is just the ultimate high wire act. If those newly acquired, highly specialized pieces don't interlock perfectly on day one, the entire enterprise comes crashing down in a really spectacular fashion.
Exactly. And that is exactly the scenario playing out with the 2026 Texas Longhorns football team.
Yeah, the pressure is immense.
It really is. So today, we are taking a massive stack of sources. We're talking Athlon sports season previews, On3 rankings, Sports Illustrated depth chart analyses, and the touchdowns breakout players list.
That's a lot of material to go through.
It is, yeah. But our mission for this deep dive is to decode how a team attempts to pull off this kind of, extreme corporate turnaround on the gridiron.
And this is such a fascinating case study for you, the listener, even if you couldn't care less about college football.
Right, totally.
Because what Texas is attempting right now is really a masterclass in modern management. It's about aggressive talent acquisition and ruthless problem solving under extreme expectations.
Extreme is putting it lightly, honestly. After a pretty disappointing end to the 2025 season, the mindset in Austin is universally national championship or bust.
Yeah, there's no middle ground anymore.
None. And to understand how they plan to engineer that, we have to start by looking at the most critical employee in the organization, the trigger man, Arch Manning.
Oh, absolutely. He is the undisputed focal point of the entire program.
Without a doubt.
I mean, he's heading into the season as the projected #1 pick in the NFL draft. And he's Sports Illustrated's favorite to win the Heisman, which is, essentially college football's MVP award.
And his 2025 production was just staggering.
Unreal.
We're talking over 3,100 passing yards, 26 passing touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions. Plus, he had another 400 yards and 11 touchdowns on the ground.
Right, the guy's a machine.
He is. But, okay, let's unpack this. Because buried in all those glittering accolades is a medical detail that completely rewrites the strategic priority for this upcoming season.
Yeah, this is the part people overlook.
Manning actually spent the offseason recovering from right foot surgery. He was playing through pain all of last year.
And that single medical reality completely forces management's hand. When your billion-dollar asset has a compromised foundation, the offensive line becomes the absolute most critical unit on the field.
Right, you cannot have 300-pound defensive linemen diving at his feet.
Exactly. And looking back at 2025, the interior of the Texas offensive line was, frankly, a liability.
Yeah, it was rough.
They had a constant revolving door at left guard. They had players just shuffling between center and guard due to injuries and ineffectiveness.
Which really showed in the stats. I mean, it heavily contributed to Texas averaging only 30.5 points per game. That was the lowest output of the entire Steve Sarkisian era.
Yeah, so in a normal business environment, you might draft young talent and spend 3 years developing them to fix that weakness.
But on a national championship timeline, you don't have 3 years.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
You go to the open market, the transfer portal, and you literally buy a solution.
It's like realizing your corporate IT infrastructure is crashing every 5 minutes. You don't hire interns to learn the system. You go poach the best engineers from your competitors.
And they executed that poaching strategy flawlessly.
Yeah.
I mean, they targeted Melvin Siani, a right tackle from Wake Forest.
He's a beast.
Yeah, in 13 starts last year, Siani gave up exactly 0 sacks, not one.
That's incredible.
And then they went out and grabbed Lawrence Seymour. He's a 2-time second-team All-American from Western Kentucky who is just waiting on an eligibility waiver to be cleared to play.
The ripple effect of those specific acquisitions is what I find so compelling. By bringing in a guy like Siani to lock down the edge, it frees up the coaching staff to completely restructure the rest of the line.
The domino effect is massive here. Because Siani takes over right tackle, Texas can take Brandon Baker, who was, solid at right tackle for them in 2025, and slide him inside to guard.
Which is his natural position anyway.
Exactly. It's his more dominant position. So by acquiring one external piece, you instantly upgrade 2 positions.
That's just brilliant management.
It is. You pair that fortified right side with returning star left tackle Trevor Gooseby, who actually delayed entering the NFL draft to come back.
Well,
And suddenly, the biggest liability of 2025 is projected to be a premier strength in 2026.
Wait, I'm stuck on this IT infrastructure analogy, though. You bring in a guy from Wake Forest, another guy from Western Kentucky, and you're mixing them with returning players.
Right.
And they are being tasked with protecting a franchise quarterback with a surgically repaired foot in stadiums with 100,000 screaming fans. Doesn't that lack of shared history invite massive communication breakdowns?
It's a huge concern, yeah.
Like one missed pre-snap blocking call because they haven't learned each other's cadence, and Manning is taking a hit to that foot. How are they mitigating that chemistry risk?
Well, that is the multi-million-dollar vulnerability right there. To mitigate it, they are heavily relying on the return of Connor Robertson at center.
Okay, the center.
Right, because the center is the operational hub of the offensive line. He identifies the defensive front, he makes the line calls, and he sets the protection.
He's the quarterback of the line.
Precisely. Robertson took over for Jake Majors last year, and, he took his lumps early, especially in chaotic environments like the Red River rivalry game against Oklahoma.
That game is always a mess.
Oh, totally. But his late-season processing speed was stellar. Having a battle-tested veteran making the calls really acts as the glue for those incoming transfers.
Okay, that makes sense. And because Siani and Robertson have secured that protective shield, head coach Steve Sarkisian suddenly has the luxury of calling long-developing, explosive plays.
Yeah, he doesn't have to just call quick screens to hide a bad offensive line anymore.
Exactly. And to exploit that new luxury, he went out and bought an entirely new arsenal of weapons.
The pass-catching room has been completely overhauled with some highly specific tools. They landed Cam Coleman, who was the #1 overall portal transfer in the country from Auburn.
Just a massive pickup.
Huge. He is a 6'3", 200-pound matchup nightmare. He racked up over 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns in his 2 years there.
What's fascinating about Coleman isn't just his individual talent, though. It's how his physical presence changes the geometry of the field for the other receivers.
Oh, for sure.
Take Ryan Wingo, for example. Last year, Wingo was forced to be the top guy. He led the team in receiving, but he struggled with inconsistencies and drops.
Because he was facing the opponent's best defensive backs every single week.
Exactly. But Coleman changes that dynamic entirely.
Because he's a true deep threat who can literally take the top off a defense. Opposing safeties have to play further back just to respect his speed.
Right.
And that naturally opens up the intermediate spaces, the 10 to 15-yard dig routes and crossing patterns where Wingo thrives. He gets to operate against single coverage with far less pressure.
And if both of those options happen to be covered, you have Emmett Mosley V.
Yes, the safety valve.
He transferred from Stanford last year, and with all the roster turnover, he is sliding right into the slot receiver role.
He's so reliable.
He really is the ultimate safety valve. Last year, he was the guy catching clutch fourth quarter and overtime touchdowns against Mississippi State. He is the mechanic who simply moves the chains on third down to keep the drive alive.
It's an incredibly well-balanced portfolio when you look at it. You have Coleman for the explosive deep shots, Wingo to manipulate the intermediate zone, and Mosley for the high-percentage checkdowns.
But the receiving core is just half the equation here. The backfield saw an even more extreme teardown.
Oh, yeah, a total reset.
4 Texas running backs entered the transfer portal. The room was practically empty. So they bring in Hollywood Smothers, an NC State transfer.
Great pickup.
Then they pair him with Raleek Brown from Arizona State. Oh, and they add the #1 incoming freshman running back in the country, Derek Cooper.
See, Smothers and Brown represent 2 completely different philosophies of running the football, and that gives us incredible insight into the offensive strategy.
How so?
Well, Smothers ran for over 900 yards last year, but the vital metric is his 4.3 yards after contact.
That's a huge stat.
It is, because in Sarkisian's rushing system, the offensive line is designed to get the running back to the line of scrimmage cleanly, but it is the back's job to break that first tackle.
And Smothers is basically a human battering ram.
Exactly. Brown, on the other hand, is a space player. He had a 255-yard rushing game against Colorado last year.
Just insane numbers.
Purely based on elite shiftiness and making defenders miss in the open field.
So what does this all mean? I have to ask. You lose 4 running backs, you bring in these highly specialized players from rival schools, and you sprinkle in a true freshman.
Right.
How do you establish any sort of cohesive offensive identity when your backfield is essentially a collection of mercenaries?
The paradigm shift here is that the identity isn't tied to a specific style of play anymore. The identity is explosive versatility.
Okay, interesting.
They didn't just buy talented running backs. They bought specific schematic solutions.
Like having different tools for different jobs.
Exactly. If Texas faces a massive, heavy defensive front that wants to play physical football, they deploy Smothers to grind out those yards after contact.
And if they face a lighter defense?
They deploy Brown to exploit the open space. The lack of historical chemistry matters less when the overarching philosophy is simply deploying the mathematically correct weapon for the immediate situation.
That actually makes perfect sense. It's a very plug-and-play approach to talent acquisition.
It really is.
But scoring points wasn't really the fundamental issue for Texas. To win a national championship against heavyweights like Ohio State or Georgia, scoring early just isn't enough.
No. You have to be able to dictate the final 10 minutes of the game.
You have to hold leads. And that requires a complete philosophical overhaul on the defensive side of the ball.
And this defensive pivot is arguably the most critical shift in the entire Texas program. They brought in Will Muschamp as the new defensive coordinator.
He's got a history there, right?
He does. He actually held this exact same position at Texas way back from 2008 to 2010. And most recently, he spent 4 years helping Kirby Smart build that incredible defensive juggernaut at Georgia.
He's replacing Pete Kwiatkowski, who ran a very classic bend but don't break defense.
Right.
Under Kwiatkowski, the philosophy was to keep the play in front of you. You allow the offense to gain small chunks of yards between the 20-yard lines, but tighten up in the red zone and force field goals.
And statistically, it was pretty effective. I mean, they only gave up 18.1 points per game over the last 3 years.
Which is solid.
It is, but it was entirely passive.
Yeah.
It relied on the opposing offense eventually making a mistake. Muschamp is introducing a violently aggressive attacking style. It's designed to force negative plays like tackles for loss and sacks to kill drives before they even get started.
I love visualizing the mechanics of this shift. It's like the Texas defense spent the last 3 years playing a slow, methodical game of chess.
Right. Keep your pieces protected, wait for the blunder.
Exactly. Now, Muschamp walks into the building, flips the chessboard off the table, and hands everyone a dodgeball.
That's a great way to put it.
It's fast, it's chaotic, and it requires a completely different mindset and physical profile from the athletes.
To put that into football terms, Muschamp relies heavily on double-A gap pressure.
What does that mean for the offensive line?
It means before the ball is even snapped, he is walking his linebackers right up into the tiny gaps between the offensive center and the guards.
That sounds like a nightmare to block.
Oh, it creates total chaos for the offensive line's blocking scheme because they literally don't know who is rushing and who is dropping back into coverage.
And because those linebackers are crowding the line of scrimmage, it completely changes what the players in the secondary have to do.
Precisely. Instead of playing soft zone coverage, where the cornerbacks give the receivers a 5-yard cushion, Muschamp demands press man coverage.
So they are right up in their faces.
The quarterbacks are practically stepping on the receiver's toes at the line of scrimmage. They're attempting to physically disrupt the route before it even develops.
Which is an incredibly stressful position to play. I mean, if you lunge and miss your physical jam at the line of scrimmage and press man, there is no safety net.
None.
The receiver is blowing past you for a 50-yard touchdown. Why take that massive risk?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, in the modern SEC, which is arguably the most grueling NFL-like conference in college football, passive defenses just get systematically dismantled.
They just pick you apart.
Exactly. When you're facing elite NFL-caliber quarterbacks with highly accurate arms, if you sit back in a zone and give them 3 seconds to scan the field, they will find the open man every single time.
So you can't just react anymore.
You can no longer just react. You have to dictate the terms of engagement. You have to force the quarterback to process information and make decisions faster than he is physically capable of doing.
But a new aggressive scheme like that is only as good as the personnel executing it. You can draw up all the exotic blitzes you want on a whiteboard, but who are the actual players making Muschamp's dodgeball game work?
Well, the entire system is anchored by returning edge rusher Colin Simmons. Last year, he led the SEC with 12 sacks and 15.5 tackles for loss.
He's unbelievable.
He is the foundational piece that forces offensive coordinators to constantly alter their blocking schemes.
He's the known commodity. But here's where it gets really interesting from a management perspective. It's looking at who they brought in through the portal to complement him.
Oh, absolutely.
They didn't just look for the best available athletes. They went shopping for highly specific movement skills. Look at Rasheem Biles, the transfer from Pitt. He is the ultimate Swiss Army knife for this exact defense.
Biles' statistical production last year was just absurd. He registered 100 tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions.
And the most staggering stat.
He scored 3 defensive touchdowns.
Yeah.
For a linebacker, that is almost unheard of.
And it explains exactly why he was the perfect acquisition. To execute that chaotic double-A gap pressure, you run into a physical paradox.
Right.
If you put a fast guy in that gap, the offensive line will physically run him over. But if you put a big, heavy guy in that gap, the quarterback will just throw a quick pass right over his head.
And Biles completely solves the paradox. Scouting reports emphasize that while he has the size of a linebacker, he has the fluid movement skills of a strong safety.
Which is so rare.
It is. He is big enough to blitz the interior and blow up a running play, but he's fast enough to drop back and cover a tight end down the seam.
Because he can do both equally well, the offense can never accurately predict what the defense is doing before the snap.
It's the weaponization of uncertainty. And to execute that high-risk press man coverage on the outside, they found some really under-the-radar specialists.
Like who?
They acquired Bo Masco from Rutgers. Now, Masco wasn't the biggest name in the transfer portal, but he earned an 83.1 coverage grade from Pro Football Focus, which is elite.
That's huge.
He fits the exact physical and technical profile needed to survive on an island in press coverage. And he's paired with Jelani McDonald, a returning hybrid safety who led the team with 80 tackles and 3 interceptions last year.
And McDonald is largely expected to wear the green dot this season, right?
Yes, exactly.
For those unfamiliar, wearing the green dot means having the radio communication device inside your helmet. You are literally the conduit between the defensive coordinator on the sideline and the 10 other players on the field.
It is an immense cognitive load. You are receiving the play call, diagnosing the offensive formation, and making real-time adjustments before the ball is even snapped.
Put yourself in the shoes of a college player for a second. You are maybe 20 years old. You are brought into the pressure cooker of Austin, Texas, and you are expected to learn this incredibly complex NFL-style aggressive defense in just a few months of spring and summer camp.
It sounds impossible.
It really does. How is it even possible to absorb that much information that quickly?
It's a monumental task, but it speaks to the broader talent acquisition strategy we've been discussing. Texas didn't go out and sign a bunch of raw developmental freshmen to learn this scheme.
They went for experience.
They purposefully acquired high IQ veterans. Guys like Beals and Masco have already played thousands of snaps of college football.
So they've seen it all.
Exactly. They have seen every route concept. They intuitively understand offensive line adjustments. They aren't learning how to play football from scratch.
They are simply learning Muschamp's specific vocabulary to communicate the concepts they already understand.
Right, which drastically compresses the learning curve.
Which brings this entire deep dive full circle. Whether you are managing a corporate team, trying to navigate massive turnover in your own industry, or just figuring out how to deliver results under the weight of sky-high expectations.
The parallels are everywhere.
There really are. The 2026 Texas Longhorns are offering a real-world clinic in aggressive problem-solving. They looked in the mirror after 2025, identified an inconsistent offensive line protecting a vulnerable quarterback, and a passive defense that couldn't dictate terms.
And they ruthlessly fixed those specific problems.
Exactly. They didn't buy generic talent. They bought Siani to anchor the line, Biles to unlock the defensive disguise, and Coleman to stretch the field.
The precision of the rebuild is stunning, honestly.
Yeah.
But it leaves us with a lingering question that extends far beyond the football field.
Yeah.
Texas has effectively custom-built a highly specialized all-star squad around Arch Manning, utilizing short-term acquisitions. If this works, and they win a national championship, it validates this mercenary corporate turnaround model entirely.
But if they fall short, if this highly curated, wildly expensive roster fails to win a title, does it fundamentally prove that you cannot simply buy chemistry and shared sacrifice?
That's the million-dollar question.
Or perhaps more terrifyingly for the rest of the industry, does a failure just force these top-tier organizations to spend even more capital and acquire even more pieces next year? We are about to find out if you can truly engineer a championship overnight.
If you fail